Are you ready? The Cornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Cornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Cornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cornelia Stephanie Show. I'm so excited. It is April the 6th, 2021, and I'm here with my beautiful co-hosts that are from around the world, and we come to you once a month to share with you all the cosmic energies that are going on, share perspective on how to live in the new earth, and offer the wisdom and insights that we've learned over the years on how to navigate this evolutionary, revolutionary journey. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Welcome, Pia and Colin.
Thank you, Cornelia. Always a delight to be with you.
We absolutely enjoy these conversations. They are so filled with wisdom and information. We're just happy to be part of this with you.
Thank you so much. You know, I just feel so good always when we come together to share this higher consciousness, because really that's what because there's a lot of parts to it, but it is in our evolutionary process, because we know evolution is inherently unfamiliar, right? However, at the same time, you know, it is that higher consciousness that we're going to use in the present moment when we make a choice to, you know, act in a new way, when we make that choice. And so it's that higher consciousness. And that's why I always feel so great being with the two of you, because we can talk about it all. We can talk about it. We can talk about it from our perspective. We can talk about it from the higher consciousness perspective. We can talk about the darkness that's also present in the world, which is what we're going to do today. So this show is going to be about discussing that and the darkness of our humanity, And but first, what I would like to do, Pia and Colin, is for the new people. There's a lot of people that don't know who we are, you know. So I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Just, you know, take a couple minutes, talk about your path, and then I will do the same. And then I have a few things written down for us, few questions to get us started.
You want to go first?
No.
I'm Pia Orlean, and I am a former practicing psychologist who has turned her work over into dedication on raising human consciousness and human evolution. And Cullen and I have been doing this work jointly together for almost 2 decades now. We work with a Pleiadian group known as LARCMA, or as they say it, LARCMA. And they give us a tremendous amount of perspective on our own human evolution. We also write books, make presentations. I'm a Pleiadian Earth Energy astrologer, which is the astrology system based on the Pleiadian cosmic understanding of energy rather than time. And we do astrological charts. We do a lot to help people in whatever direction they're interested in growing.
Thank you, Pia.
I am Cullen Smith, and I am Pia's partner in many ways and on many levels. And the work we do is a culmination of a lifetime of experiences that we've had in working with other realms, other dimensions, other kingdoms. Pia and I both had very unusual childhoods. We were connected to what we would call normally unseen beings. We were connected with fairies, the little people, the Fae kingdom, Pan's kingdom,
Interstellar friends.
many interstellar friends that visited us when we were small. So we have been involved in this kind of work all of our lives.
Which is a very long time.
Pia and I have been here for quite some time in this evolutionary outer personality, third dimensional experience. And so we have truly devoted our lives to helping humanity evolve, watching out for other kingdoms, the animal kingdom, the Davic kingdom, the angelic kingdom. We have been involved in an interactive relationship with all of these kingdoms since we were really quite small. So what we're doing now with our Pleiadian friends, as Pia introduced them as Larkma, is we're connecting this Pleiadian wisdom with humanity. And it's absolutely the best relationship and the best thing we could be doing at this time in our lives.
And if people want to find out more about our work, they can look at both of our websites, larkma.com, that's spelled LAARKMAA.com, or piaorlean.com. And Orlean is ORLEANE.com. So all of our work is on both of those sites and people can reference that.
So the last thing I would say in introducing ourselves is I would totally agree with you, Cornelia. You talked about in the introduction about being committed to doing this work, being committed to helping humanity understand both the lightness and the darkness of how we perceive our experience here on Earth. So Pia and I are absolutely with you, committed to this work.
We want to help clear the confusion that exists right now with people not understanding or knowing how to resonate with the truth that naturally lives in their heart because they're so confused by outer information. So we're here to help that also.
And thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. You know, what you're talking about, the truth, this is so important right now. And that's, I know why we're having this conversation, because many people don't even realize, you know, their own truth and what's the truth and what can they rely on and depend on as far as truth is, and how do we access the truth, because there's all different, you know, all the different perspectives that are going on, that are shared out there, all the noise that's out there. And so which is leading me straight away. Well, first of all, I want to say you two are so blessed. You two are so blessed. You two are so lucky. You two have each other. And I just think it's fantastic when you have a pair, a couple that's focused together on the mission with, you know, that having a masculine energy, a feminine energy together, focused on that common vision, and you know, supporting each other in that way. So when I see the two of you, that's what I see. I see that that's what you're doing, and how valuable that is to have each other as you two are creating together, and also standing strong together in the face of all the darkness that's here, and supporting each other in that process. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that. So, you know, pivoting back to my journey, I too have had a very, you know, interesting childhood that was filled with lots of trauma that I've had to overcome. But all of it was set up so that I can remember and discover myself and heal myself and remember the truth of who I am. We're talking about truth. Remember the truth of who I am. And so I was, you know, I went through my life journey and my awakening journey. This is where it really began, where it really got interesting, when the true awakening really happened. And that was, I want to say, in 2007, 2008, when I began listening to the promptings of my soul. And so the soul asked the question, because I remember exactly the voice, and the soul was asking the question, Do you want to live like this for the rest of your life? Do you want to be a slave for the rest of your life? This was the conversation. And I said, no, I don't. I don't want to be a slave, and I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. I had no passion. I was just slaving around for everyone else in the matrix, completely unconscious to all the wonderful freedom that lied ahead. So as the soul began talking, and as I began listening, I then started that journey. And it was no walk in the park. It was no walk in the park at all. As a matter of fact, it was really, really painful, the journey to coming home to the truth of myself. And so through that process, I had many helpers along the way, many people archetypes, people that, were doing good works out there that the universe matched me up with at that time so that I can, go deeper within. But I also developed my own healing modality. And I really feel that is where I gained my greatest strength. And that is, I began working on the emotional body, healing the core wounding of the emotional body, which was huge. That was huge. And then that led me to investigating every belief that was unconscious that I used to make choices on, and making all those beliefs, those negative limiting beliefs, and turning them around into changing the beliefs through the discovery, doing that. And then, which then led me to, so we're talking about the emotional body, we're talking about the mental body, and which of course was entirely based on the spiritual journey that I was on, from listening to my soul, being free, the core values of really truly being free. And what does that mean to me? And how do I define heaven? And what does heaven on earth mean to me? And who am I inside? And so those spiritual core values were the driving force for me to connect with source energy, and listen to and commune with source. That was the thing. And I almost feel like rather than source informing me, I was informing source. So I was contributing into walking this path here on earth and sharing the darkest parts of what I was releasing, and also then bringing in the highest wisdom, the highest consciousness, and into that everyday now moment, into that 0 point moment. And like I said, it was no walk in the park, but coming home to the truth of who I am, knowing that I'm the authority over my life, and not giving my power away to any outside source, no matter who they are. No one gets to have control over me. And so that was the journey. And like I said, it was no walk in the park, because there's so many ways in the way that we give our power away in so many different areas as humans that we have done in the past. And so it's really important that we're sharing this today, because we're talking about the darkness, all the darkness that's in the world, and the crimes of humanity. That's one of the discussions that we wanted to have today. Is there anything else that you would like to share right now before we begin that conversation? Call in.
Well, I'd like to comment on what you said about the freedom that's obtained and not being slaves anymore, and that the path to do that is by changing your beliefs and your emotional reactions to those beliefs, because that's along the same line as the work that we do, is helping people to see the truth, feel it in their hearts, and recognize that if they change their beliefs and change their reactions, their emotional reactions to the beliefs, they can set themselves free. And this entire conversation that we've programmed for today in my opinion, is about helping people become free, no longer being slaves to what they are being told, but instead empowering them to listen to their own hearts and turn things around. Because rather than setting up a show that could be all about victim status, poor us, look what's happening to the planet, what Cullen and I want to do is to say, pay attention to this and this and this. These things are real, and listen to your heart for how we're going to respond collectively to make a difference and change it.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And I think we also have to understand something in a discussion like this, and that is we as humans allowed what has happened to us through not making choices that would have been for the highest good of all. And so when the idea of victimhood or freedomhood, I think I just coined something new. There's a great distinction between the fact that in the word revolution is the word evolution. And I think what humanity is at the very precipice, the very plateau or verge of, is through revolution, we will find absolute evolution. And I think that the discussion we're going to have today, is really importantly about the fact that no one is going to take the responsibility to save us. No one is going to have a magic wand and tell us, oh, it's all right, children, we're going to take care of you, everything's going to be okay. We have to be the masters of doing that ourselves for ourselves. And so I think as we talk about what we're going to talk about, it seems to me that we have to be absolutely aware of the fact that this is something we have to do.
Yes, and I love how both of you led into this, because as you remember our last show, I talked about how during the month of February, I was really working on clearing the last debris of the collective victimhood that I was feeling at the time. And because I know that the collective energy this is what I was sensing, the victim energy that was so huge. And now having moved through that myself again, because I, being a victim, instead of being a sovereign co-creator, a sovereign creator, a sovereign person in your own reality, the victim energy is a core wound. And this is one of the core wounds that, we all get to neutralize, again, because we're not victims. We're not victims in any situation that we're find ourselves in with anything that is going on, because we came here to evolve, and we came here to ascend into higher vibrational ways of living and being, and live in harmony with our true nature. That's the truth. So when we're talking about what is true, what is the truth, that is the truth. And we have to be able to, when we're making choices in the moment, when the victim is present, woe is me, or I can't figure this out, or someone needs to come in and save me, or when is somebody going to do something about this? All you have to do then, right, at that moment is, again, look within and see where you're giving your power away because of that core wound of codependency, dependent on something or someone outside of yourself that's going to come in and save you, when the savior's already here. It's you.
Our culture has trained everyone to look to someone else to be the authority. Our culture, by its very nature, has taken the power away from each individual, saying, well, you can't do it. Doctors and medicine, religions, education, all of our culture points towards, well, you're too little, you can't do anything.
You're a woman.
That one
Absolutely.
too. Absolutely. That one too.
You're
Yep.
a woman, So one of the things is I wrote down two things that I wanted to talk about today. One is, from my understanding, when we're looking at the crimes of humanity, is that there, when we're looking at the big picture, there is about, and there's about anywhere between 9 and 13 um, families, if you will, that control the planet, control and manipulate, or have controlled and manipulated the planet. And those 9 or 13, I'm not really sure which one. All of that is interwoven into all the systems, the healthcare system, the media system, all the systems within all of our structures that we've been dependent on and that we've been living in, right? And so that's one part. I want to talk about that and hear what your perspective is on that. And then the other part that I want to talk about, and then we can just open it up and let it flow however it wants to flow. The other part I want to talk about is, because what I just mentioned is the hidden cabal. And especially a lot of people that are awakening, and that people that are really discovering that there's been a lot that's been going on that's been hidden right in front of our eyes, directly in front of our eyes, and it's directly in front of us, but we couldn't see it, or we refused to see it, or whatever the reasons were. So that would be the hidden cabal. The other thing I want to talk about, the dark side of being awake, is what do you feel about the person that comes cloaked in the form of, they appear to be an angel, they appear to be a highly evolved person, they appear to be a highly evolved being, yet behind the cloak there is a different agenda altogether. And so when we're talking about empowerment and we're talking about the dark side of humanity, those are the two things that I see where people need to claim their power and need to be very awake and very clear with their boundaries and whatnot. So I'm going to turn it over to you and we can take it from there.
I want to just say quickly, and then you can add what you want to. I think we're going to go in two opposite directions here. We usually do. The thing about looking at someone who is the wolf clothed in sheepskin, if we learn to reawaken our intuition and utilize it and start living from that principle of highest good for all and compassion and kindness, it becomes really, really transparent when that wolf is standing in front of us, no matter what kind of sheep's clothing it's got on. So as far as someone who is playing with the dark and pretending to be light, it's very easy to discern that. You can look at it, you can feel it, you can see it, you can hear it in the words. It's all very, very present. When it's not clear is when you've got yourself full of doubts, bad training about relying on somebody else, fear, negativity. All of those things keep your clarity obfuscated. So you can't really determine, is this a good energy? Is this a conflicted energy? So it brings it right back again to the point of we have to clear out all of our own stuff, get rid of our own beliefs, open our hearts, and learn to see from the heart and through our intuition. And then there's no such thing as not being able to see someone pretending to be what they're not. We're not fooled any longer. We can't be fooled any longer. And I'm betting you're going the other direction, right?
No, actually, I'm going to say something pretty similar to what you just said, Pia. I think using the analogy, Cornelia, that you used of an angel-like being, possibly disguised as a darker energy, but appearing as though they're bringing something that's really wonderful, really good for humanity or the planet. I think there's a direct correlation between our absolute conditioning of relying on technology that technology is always going to save us. I remember having conversations with my father and some of his cronies that were scientists, architects, engineers back in the 50s, when I was beginning to ask questions about how the world really works. And many of these men, and they were all men, there were no women, which was too bad at the time. All of these men kept telling me as a young person, don't worry about things. Technology will save us. Technology is the magic ingredient, and it will formulate, it will design everything we need so that we'll be okay. And I can tell you, 60 odd years later, maybe even more than that, I look back and I realized I didn't believe a word they were saying. And the point I'm going to make now is that we have relied on technology as our savior. We have truly, since the end of World War II, when technology really got going in a very, very accelerated way, we have believed that these men, some women, but mostly men, who invent something or bring something to humanity or society. And I'm not going to name any names here because I want to be careful not to bring up names, because that's not really what this discussion is about. But I'm going to go around that and talk about technology. Many things have been invented or brought to the surface by, I'll say people instead of saying men or women, that looked like they would be a positive influence on us as humanity. Many of those inventions, many of those new techniques actually have not been good for us. And they have actually polluted or rearranged our health, our balance, our ability to really live as humans were meant to live. And I also will not bring up examples of some of these inventions, but many of them that are very problematic today were brought by people who I don't think really had the best intentions for humanity or the earth. I think they did these things through greed and power. And unfortunately, humanity and society took all of these ideas and all of these inventions and said to themselves, this is great. This is going to enhance my life. It's going to make my life easier. And I think the biggest problem of the angel-like looking beings was that they were not angelic-like. They actually had an agenda many, many, many years ago. And they brought these new things that have not been good for anybody, humans, animals, earth, life. And so I think what we have done is we have allowed these inventors, these scientists, these businessmen to do these things. And Pia spoke about this a minute ago, and you did also, about we just took these things for granted. We thought, well, this must be good for us because it's either going to make us more money, it's going to make our life easier, or through so-called medical science, we will be healthier. And I'm putting all of these things in the same category as maybe they weren't the best things for us, but we allowed them to be put in place. And that is the juncture of where we have to stand up with and to the truth and realize that we have to stop this absolute slippery slope, downhill agenda of thinking that science and medicine are going to be our saviors, because the way we're using them now is not the best for us. So I think your analogy of an angelic being really not being exactly the way they portray themselves is absolutely part of the problem.
Well, they may, however they portray themselves. They could portray themselves as a highly, successful business person, lots of money, all the shiny, everything on the outside. It's very, very alluring. And then, you can get sucked in if you don't have a strong, spiritual core where you know what your boundaries are. And like Pia said, your intuitive guidance, that whole piece, because the places where we've given our power away, so that we can then become a victim or enslaved to whatever the situation is. This is all part of us claiming our power back. We've given it away, now we're taking it back. We're taking it back, and we're taking ownership. We're taking responsibility because we're not victims. And if we truly live that way and trust ourselves, the choices we make, then everything is there for you to look at, see how you can collaborate with that energy to evolve consciousness, to evolve into higher vibrational ways of living and being, and to really help return everything back to the original template, not the distorted template of what we've been living out. Everything that we've been living that has not been good, now to live everything that we're returning back to true harmony. And this is the path. So it was interesting when you were talking, I was reminded of when I was in my awakening journey during that time, when I didn't have health insurance and medical insurance, and I was just beginning in that process at the time, because when I left the system, I had left all of my insurance and all of that. And I remembered when I was during a time when I was jumping on my trampoline, and when I landed on the ground, when I landed wrong, and basically appeared to land on my ankle. So it wasn't a good feeling. I let out a huge scream. I was outside on my trampoline, and I remembered when I made my way into the house and put ice around it and everything, then I had to sit with, okay, do I want to go to the hospital now? Do I want to now go to the hospital? Do I need to go to the hospital? Because I had a belief that I had installed, a new belief prior to that happening by investigating the old negative limiting beliefs. The belief was that the body has the ability to self-regenerate and self-heal. So that, because you were talking about science, Colin, you were talking about science. And this isn't something at the time that was proven to me. It's just that I had heard that statement and I felt that intuitively that is so true. The body does have the ability to self-heal and self-regenerate. And I believe that, just like when I had heard the statement 30 something years ago that we choose our parents, we choose our family. And who we incarnate with. When I had heard that statement, it was life-changing for me. It was paradigm shifting, and so the whole point that I'm making is, when I was sitting there with my swollen ankle, where I was in so much pain, and I played the movie of going to the hospital, getting all the x-rays, and then and all the charges and everything that they were going to do and say and all these things. Now then I tuned back into my body and I said, I want to know, do I need to go to the hospital? Do I need to take you to the hospital? And is my foot broken? Is my foot broken? And I got that it was not broken. I got that the foot was not broken, the ankle was not broken, that it was that I fractured it, and that I need to elevate the foot and ice it and allow the healing to occur, and rest. So not doing a lot of things, not standing on it. So basically I wrote my own prescription. That's basically what happened because of the belief. Pia, you talked about the belief, how important it is, and we act on our beliefs. And so when you learn to really trust yourself so much that pretend that you're out in the desert and there's nothing else around you but you, your body, and the universe. And what will you do? What will you do? And to know and trust that you're going to manifest, that everything is going to be okay for whatever it is that you need to be able to really live in that way. And that is living in harmony with nature. So I would not recommend for anyone, I'm not saying for anyone to do this, but this was what reminded me of, Colin, when you were talking about, taking your own, being in your own authority and listening to yourself and trusting yourself. And the bottom line was, the swelling went down from my foot and I healed and I recovered. And this was all part of the training of learning to trust myself.
Well, I think there's a really simple equation that you're talking about. It's very simple. We are the masters of our own destiny. All we have to do, as Pia said earlier, is utilize our intuition. We've stepped away from that for generations, and we simply have to use our intuition to listen to our heart. And the biggest part of the equation is making choices for the highest good of all. And if we do that, we are the masters of our own destiny. And that takes away anything other than living in the moment. That takes away the victimhood, that takes away blame, that takes away fear. It takes away all of the elements that have gotten us into this ridiculously complicated and very, very uncomfortable situation as humanity finds itself now. So I think you're right. Co-creation is absolutely part of what we have to do in order to regain the balance that we are naturally, normally in the template that you spoke of who we are and how we can do what we can do to balance ourselves and to become those sovereign beings that we were meant to be.
There's a phrase that Colin and I use around the house a lot, and it's, I don't know. No matter what's going on, if we come back to I don't know, it automatically stops the thought process from running into history, from previous experience, or running out into the future for imagined possibilities. And it allows you to listen to what is required right now. So we use that phrase around our house a lot. I don't know. And then listen to ourselves. Okay, this is what we need to do, or this is what I need, or this is what I think. But that I don't know is the pause. It's the place that is missing in our culture, because rest and regeneration is not supported in our culture. So time to stop and consider what's really necessary, what's really required, is also dismissed in our culture.
Yeah, I actually see that as the title of a book. I don't know. That's great. And then that would have me totally curious to read it. I think that's wonderful. It releases all the resistance. It keeps the channels open, and it keeps us humble and curious as to what's the communication, what's coming in. I don't know. And I think if we all were to live in the I don't know, it would be so much easier.
Yeah.
It would be so much easier.
Well, I think I have said this on your show before, but the two phrases that I use most in my life are I love you and I don't know.
I love that.
And I would add something that Pia brought to me when we met. She said, I'm only interested in two things: simple and deep. Simple and deep. Mm-hmm. And if we lead a life of simplicity and deepness, we don't have to be involved in all of the judgments, all of the concerns, all of the things that we've been trained to look at life through, all of the lenses that are distorting our true reality, our truthfulness. If we just live a life of simplicity and depth, we basically answer all the parameters of what we need. And I think our society, and I'm going to say through darkness, through things that really aren't of the highest choice for everyone, I think we've slipped into that realm that is not simple and deep. And I think the new earth, I think where we are going as we evolve, as we ascend, I think we're going to regain simple and deep.
And the way that we're going to regain that is Pia gave you the code. That is the code. It is the code. And this is actually, the world is so complicated. Everything seems to be so complicated. Everything is made complicated. But the way that we're going to set up our structures, set up our new earth is by being simple and deep, setting up, living your life every day, every moment from a place of simplicity, making choices that are based on that, and bringing the depth of the consciousness to that moment of making the choice. Wouldn't you say, Pia?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. When somebody says, you ask them a question and they say, oh, it's complicated, I just sort of chuckle to myself. The person making it complicated is them going around in loops in their head.
Yeah.
It's never complicated. It's always simple. And you can always, if you go deeply enough into it, figure out where the simplicity is. And then it's no problem any longer.
Yeah. When we first met our Pleiadian friends, Larkma, one of the things they told us was that humans love to say, I'm very complicated. And what they told us about that statement was it makes people feel special or superior if they say, oh, I'm very complicated. And what the funniness, the hilarity of it is the person saying that doesn't really understand what we're talking about right now. They think it will make people think they are either better or more advanced or whatever it is by saying, oh, you don't understand me. I am very complicated. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, is hiding behind those kinds of non-transparency, hiding behind things that says, well, I'm so special that you won't understand me, or I am so special that you just don't get me. That's the bad training that we've been given in order for us to feel special or to feel that we're better through judgment over someone else or a situation. And my golly, we have to step away from that kind of bad training, because that only separates us.
It also is what keeps us from being able to see with clarity when the dark figure is not the angel it's presenting itself to be. Getting rid of the complications and going back to simple and deep and the intuition and the heart is the formula for being able to stop this, turn it around.
Yeah, I love that. You know, when we're talking about the whole darkness part, because there's two things. I feel in claiming my own power, in claiming my own sovereignty, there were times where I had felt, you know, when I was releasing shame and I was noticing, you know, it's to take that much responsibility, really claim your power, to really be committed and dedicated on the path. That's, a lot of people are afraid to claim their power. They hold back because they're afraid, they don't know what they're going to do with it all. I don't think that they're having that conscious thought, right? But that certainly is part of it, is taking full ownership, taking full responsibility for how you perceive the world, how you engage in the world, how you create your own reality, and how you engage with all of it, right? While at the same time, what I have found, you know, with being able to be with all of the darkness. So just recently, even what was really hard for me these last couple months in still clearing again the collective victim energy, is, you know, watching all of the whole thing with the vaccines and the childhood trafficking that's going on here, still, you know, all those things, and just, you know, seeing how many people are sucked in by all of that, because you have to be able to be really fully present, to be really fully with it all, and not because you yourself personally have to go do something about it, but at least to bring your awareness, your presence, and your consciousness to it.
That's,
I find it really interesting. Do you want to say something?
no, go ahead.
I find it really interesting that when someone reveals what's in a vaccination, what the damages of the vaccine can cause, all the statistics, all of the science, all of those things that people need to know to make a conscious choice. When someone does all that, who is in a medical field, they are labeled as a conspiracy theorist. If that's not putting a cover over somebody instead of letting them show who they truly are, I don't know what to say about that. I think we have two very, very big agendas. And you're right with what you said in the beginning about the handful of people who are pulling the strings and how they're all networking into every system we've got. But at this point, there are two very big things. And if we don't do something about these two very big things, we may not exist as a species much longer. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say that you've used the word responsibility, and responsibility is one of the largest ideas or elements in consciousness. There can be no consciousness without responsibility. If people don't take personal responsibility about everything they think, every action they take, everything they do,
Every choice they make.
whether it's inward towards themselves or outward, if they don't take that responsibility, they are going to let someone do something to them. And that's exactly what you've been talking about today, Cornelia. You've been talking about energies or people or personalities or families that have done so many things to control society for, it's been for a very long time. I mean, I have some very radical theories about this, and it's
Are we
not
going to
just,
talk about that in part 2 on this topic?
sure,
The radical
sure.
theories? Good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just to make this a short comment, responsibility is a key factor in clearing up whatever's wrong with us, whether it's victimhood, as we have spoken today, whether it's blame, whether it's self-loathing. It doesn't matter what the idea or the element is. Taking responsibility to look at it, first of all, people don't want to look at what is uncomfortable. There's a direct relationship between responsibility and comfort level. If something doesn't feel good, people generally will avoid the responsibility of doing something about it. Go ahead.
Well, you said they will avoid it, and I'll add to that by saying they will numb it up.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
They will
Yeah.
numb it up simply because what we talked about this on previous shows, the number one thing that people don't want to do, and that is to feel.
Mhm.
And if they see something uncomfortable going on, it's like, oh my God, either complete avoidance, or you see it, oh, now I need this because I can't handle this.
Yep. Yep.
Numbing it up instead of, we talked about this, the consciousness of the mother And that is the mother is able to be with. This is teaching somebody how to hold space for when you are in your raging humanity, not to cause war or cause harm to someone else, but once you are releasing this old energy out of your physical body, if you see something that is unjust and not right going on, and you have a person like the two of you have each other, but or you have a partner or a person, that a coach or somebody that can hold the space for you while you release that, what you're witnessing, doesn't mean that they need to give you the solution. They just need to be able to sit and witness and hold the space for you while you are in that space of feeling what the injustice is, so that you can truly, really, fully feel it, because again, it's that darkest, most ugliest, most rigid space feeling that is being felt and is being released. And then if we can, go ahead.
I actually think, Cornelia, that when that kind of thing is going on, it's the perfect time to be in retreat by yourself.
Yeah.
And that if you need somebody else to hold the space for you, it's another form of, oh, I can't do this by myself, another form of disempowerment.
Yeah.
So I would say if you find yourself in such a situation where you're with someone, by all means, hold the space. But people should not by any chance look for somebody else, partner or otherwise, to hold the space. You need to take your own power by saying something is out of balance within me and I need to retreat until I fix it, because that pie is good for all.
That is true. And you know what is with that is that over the years, people used to accuse me, like friends and, used to accuse me of, you don't talk about the things, you don't share the things that you need, or you don't share, what you're up to. And that is because what you were just talking about, Pia, in that space of when you're really looking at the most darkest parts, to really be fully present with yourself and your divine and your energy right there in that moment. There is times when having a witness, a midwife, I will call it, is, I'm not saying to be dependent, but there is times when having someone or something, another person to talk things out with is helpful, until you can really truly get to the point where you've got this. Because again, there's a lot of darkness to face. When we look at the whole darkness of everything that's going on this planet, I tell you, just even in February, when I walked that circle again, Jesus Christ, I mean, being with all of the this dark energy again, to walk and bring that unconditional love, unconditional love,
As long
unconditional
as, long as we're not looking for the other person to tell us we're okay. When it enters into the place of, well, I need you to witness for this because I need you to tell me I'm okay and I'm still lovable, that's codependency again. And that's not being empowered to love yourself, because ultimately we have to look at the darkness and love ourselves as we change it. Because when we change ourselves on the inside, that's when we can change the world on the outside.
Yeah. Colin, you were going to say something.
This is a big topic, actually. Most of humanity does not have a concept of the balance between dark and light. And most people simply do not claim or realize that they have darkness within them. It's not a terrible admission. It's not a thing that if someone says, well, I have dark moments, or I have some dark traumatic memories, most people do not want to enter that arena because they feel like they're no good, or there's something drastically wrong with them. And it's really unfortunate that most of the collective doesn't realize that we have to work with the dark and the light, or the light and the dark.
We're on a dualistic planet.
And we have to be willing, and here's where responsibility comes in. Courage, responsibility, and action are all part of this subject matter. we have to use all of those abilities to look at the darkness, whether we created it ourselves, whether someone dumped it on us. It doesn't matter where it came from. What we have to understand is that we are dark and light. And when we take the responsibility and the courage to look at that darkness, that is our liberation. That is when we are able to rebalance ourselves and be able to not only change our belief systems, but change everything, and I mean everything in this third dimensional world. And that once again comes back to responsibility.
And responsibility is tied into belief systems.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, the whole thing of distraction, you used the word distraction a minute ago. There's a sister to distraction, and unfortunately it's called addiction. And humanity uses distraction or addiction to keep us from looking inside and to doing those things that we need to do to clear ourselves and to rebalance ourselves. We came here as absolutely balanced little beings. We came here as pure energy, and not until we became involved in the family, in the schools, in the religion, in society, we were absolutely shining little beings. And all of these things that have happened to us have caused us to shut down, to not see through the illusion of who we really truly are, because we're all magnificent, shining, absolute, connected beings, not only together, but to source. And so this whole idea of being able to look at the dark without distraction or addiction and just be with ourselves. Pia used the term retreat. Being quiet, whether it's through meditation, swimming, walking in the woods, walking in nature, doesn't matter what people choose, but being that very quiet, that very solitary energy that is part of us. When we do those things, we open up the possibilities of absolute connection, and that connection liberates us from all of the things that we don't like.
Yeah, exactly. It's being able to really listen deeply when we're in that quiet space, and notice how you want to avoid, and then do something else instead of being quiet. In my book, I talked about the root cause of all addiction is a lack of self-love. And
Yes.
when the being recognizes that, and when the being recognizes that, and then actually deposits that radical self-love into that cell memory, instead of choosing addiction, choose the love in the choices that are made. Because healing addictions it's a hard thing. I know that based on your life, neither one of you, have you ever suffered with any type of addiction?
No.
No.
You're looking at an addict, a person that used to be addicted to all forms of lots of different things. So that's why I learned through all of that how hard that is to let go of the addictions, whatever they are. And I'm talking drugs, I'm talking smoking, I'm talking codependency, I'm talking trauma, drama, all these things, and how to really release all of that. And it takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of responsibility to choose love.
That should be the only addiction, Cornelia.
To choose love, because that's really the truth of who we are, isn't it? And when we look at it in truth, in the way it is, it's like, wow, why would I want to choose something else other than that?
So we need to talk a little bit about how to get people to change their belief systems around what's going on in the world. As we've been talking a lot about the inner planes and how to change the inner beliefs so that we take back our power, we need to also talk about a little bit about being able to see what's going on in the outer world with clear vision instead of labeling it conspiracy theory or traditional view. We need to be able to see the whole picture and then know how we can respond responsibly to what's going on in the outer world using those same principles we've been talking about in the inner world.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I'm finding is that, you know, when people say it's a conspiracy theory, you know, when the people that are talking about what you said, when you're getting all the research from a doctor and they're telling you exactly about all of these things, and how when the doctor is giving you the research and everything about what's in a vaccine and all these things. And I actually feel like the Matrix is actually the conspiracy theory. That's actually the conspiracy theory. You know, this, and you know, here's science, and here's the highly evolved conscious beings that are realized, self-realized, that are sovereign, that are free, that are telling you, and it's flipped. It's flipped. It's flipped, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I read something not too long ago that I really loved. It said the people who proclaim that something that someone's saying is a conspiracy theory are the ones who are generating the biggest conspiracies.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you just said. And it's really interesting because propaganda is such a powerful energy. It's such a powerful way of either changing people's minds or keeping people imprisoned in either old paradigms or the wrong paradigms. And when a group, whether it's a government or a corporation, whatever the agency is, when they start saying, oh, well, that's a conspiracy theory, you shouldn't listen to that, it rings a ding, ding, ding bell that they are actually spinning the biggest conspiracies, or they wouldn't be calling the people, as Pia said, who have evidence, who have scientific or truthful evidence that are really trying to help the situation, and trying to disclaim that or color that by saying, oh, no, that's really not the truth. That's the easiest thing to see in these big energies, whether it's a corporation, a government, or religion, who are slinging these conspiracy theory ideas out. They're just protecting their backs.
It's a bit 1984-ish.
It is. It is.
It's doublespeak from 1984. So if I hear conspiracy theory, like Cullen, I go ding, ding, ding. What truth are they trying to hide? And the two biggest things I think we have to face right now to change our own beliefs about what's happening in our world is to look at, number one, the vaccination. If you are so ensured that you must take that vaccination, where is that belief coming from? Have you forgotten the belief that the body has the innate ability to heal itself? Have you forgotten that the virus is just a virus, and we've had thousands of viruses and they always run their course and we're fine afterwards, and thereby we create our own immunity? Have you become so fearful that you have to take somebody else's untested injection into your body, even knowing what the harmful things might be in that injection, that you have lost your faith in yourself? That's a scary proposition. That's one of the two things I think absolutely has to change.
Yeah, and I think it's wonderful. You gave some really good questions for the self to ask the self.
Yes.
These were really good questions. I just remember when there was, you know, how I was talking about, I've been listening to my own body ecology for a long time. And so I remember there was never, when I was recently looking at that, and I remember there was never not one fractal, not one iota, not one nothing within my being that said, should I or shouldn't I take the, there was never not one, because it was always solid.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And
No.
that's the way it is. When you start going simple and deep and listening to your heart and your intuition, you don't need to read 9,000 papers. You don't need to watch 15 different videos. You just intuitively know this is not making sense. I don't know why people are trying to sell it. And this resonates with me. That's what I want to do. It becomes very crystal clear.
And it was so crystal clear. And see, and this is, I think what you're saying, Pia, is that really take a look, ask yourself these questions, look at your belief system. Because like I said earlier, we create based on our beliefs. And I also said that in my awakening journey, I was investigating the unconscious beliefs. And when I heard the belief that the body has the ability to self-regenerate and self-heal, that became my Bible. That became my absolute. That became my belief of how I work everything.
It's because it's the simple truth.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and so then you make choices based on that belief and everything else. I remember when COVID was announced and they announced it and it was announced. And I remember right away looking at, and I just basically made the statement out loud so my DNA can hear me, so my body can hear me. And the statement was, we will not be hosting this event at this house.
Yep, that's clear.
Yep.
At this house, we will not be hosting this event. We will not be a host.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
this is what it means to be a responsible creator of your reality and to really direct who you will let in the house and who you won't.
Yes.
The other responsible thing we need to do is to get rid of the belief that we need 5G to have faster internet connection. We need to recognize that we are participating in an illusory thing that is harming life on this planet by beaming radiation into the planet, that if you look at a smart meter where 5G is, there is no plant life that will grow anywhere around it. And if we don't take responsibility to give up our iPhones, give up our smartphones, get rid of all the things that promote the industry that is doing this, we're not taking responsibility for creating a safe environment for us, for our children, for anybody. So that's the other belief that needs to be really examined. And that one is a little bit like you were talking about, people wanting to numb out and just not look at it because it's too hard. People don't want to put down their toys.
Yeah.
It's so easy to use it. I don't want to put down my toy, but what cost is that toy?
Yeah.
What cost is that to human life?
And that, are you done?
Yeah.
That brings us back to the angel in disguise.
Yeah.
If 5G, P and I have done a tremendous amount of research for almost 2 years. We're very versatile and we're very knowledgeable about the scientific medical implications of allowing 5G and 6G to actually be utilized and rolled out on this planet. There is so much information available, if people are just willing to look at it, that shows that it is a deadly force. It is not pro-life. And it's another angelic situation where technology tells us that if you use this, you will be faster, happier, healthier. You'll have more money, everything that you want. If you invest in this technology, it will all be perfect for you. And it's another one of those guises where it is not truthful, it is not healthy, and it is not the best thing for the highest good for all life on this planet.
You know what? That you're mentioning that again, like I'm looking at my own self right now, listening to what the commercial would be, invest in this and doing this and do this. And right away, I don't have, this would be right away. This is not something that I'm subscribed to because I have set my boundaries pretty clear on who I am and what I'm listening to. And so this is why we're talking about this, for raising your consciousness, raising your awareness, to raising your curiosity to what is being said, and how to really listen to, you know, the information that's being presented, that's trying to lure you in, to make it all shiny and to make it seem like this is what's gonna do it. Where, like, when you were talking about it right now, Colin, right away, this is not something that I would be interested in if I would hear it.
Mhm.
Well, that's because you're open to the truth. You're open to your heart and your body's wisdom to know immediately, to put the hand up and say, not for me, I don't need this.
Any technology that makes the oxygen spin in an opposite way than what the cell needs and is accustomed to, and can cause internal suffocation, is not a technology that we need. You know, who
It's,
wants that?
yeah.
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 It's really
It's
simple. Things in the world, whether they're natural or manufactured, if they're not good for us, we don't want them in our house, just as you said.
Mhm.
And that is not just technological things. There are poisons in the natural world. There are insects, there are snakes that are harmful. We do not want to be involved with the venom or the poison in these beings that are here on earth with us. And we avoid them. I mean, our heart wisdom and our intuition says, don't play with things that can hurt you. But we don't do that with technology because we believe what we've been told. Oh, this is good for you. But
Well,
the
it's just like
technology,
the vaccine. We believe that they, you know, the vaccine, they said, you know, here's the vaccine, that this is good for you. This is gonna, you know, do all of these things. We believe, and we believe when we type into the Google search technology, you're talking about high tech, and you type into the Google search and you're searching for something, you're putting it in, and we believe that what you put in and what comes back is the truth. And then the thing that I would ask you is, where did that come from? And has that been investigated by you?
Good point.
that is the ultimate understanding of where did it come from and was it true in the first place? You're absolutely on target with that.
The reason why I can say that is because I communicate with source, and I take my information directly to source. And so when I'm communicating, informing, here's what how, you know, what I'm seeing, what I'm perceiving, and, you know, this is what I'm feeling it is. Um, but not to rely on the outside sources to give me the information, right? To give me, like we would do in Google, oh, just Google it, just Google it, just Google it. No, how can you know something to be true unless you've explored it within your own consciousness, in your own heart, and discovered that what it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what you're speaking of so importantly here is the bad bill of goods. I know that's a very old saying, but the bad bill of goods we've been sold by technology, by science, by medicine, by education, by religion. I mean, I could go on and on with a laundry list of all the sources of all of this misinformation, this disinformation. All we have to do, and I've said this umpteen times today, all we have to do is listen to our hearts and our intuition, and we know the difference between the truth and what is not the truth. And that is what people need to wake up to understand.
And then
that is
act from that place.
that is what the dawning of consciousness is all about, because consciousness will only lead us in the right direction. Consciousness will only lead us to make the decisions for the highest good of all, not for those 9 or 13 families who control everything, not for the governments who pretend they're here to help us.
You know, our Pleiadian friends have taught us very one important, many things, but this one very important thing is that belief is in the head and trust is in the heart. Give up your beliefs, trust your heart.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to help people understand. Don't stand there and say, I believe this, I believe this, I believe this. This is what I believe. Instead, give up your beliefs and be willing to say, I don't know. And then get quiet and listen. And then you can say, I trust this is the direction I need to go. I trust this is choice that's aligned with source.
And we all have this innate ability. Every single one of us, every human on this planet has that ability to trust the heart and the intuition. It's just that we've been so indoctrinated, so pummeled, so trained, as you said earlier, Cornelia, to listen to an outside source. And one of the tenets of growing consciousness is to go within, is to actually listen, not to some information that comes from without, but simply being quiet enough, being in that space that allows that truth to burble up, because that truth is always there. It will always burble up if we give it a chance.
Yeah. And I want to take it back to, if you were in the desert, if you have a knowing that everything that you need is within you, if you have that knowing, and if you have that that faith and that trust in yourself that everything you need is there, that's the place from where I found my own freedom, is always seeing myself in that space, that everything is right there for me, and that I believe that I have within myself, within my knowing, that I may not see it right this second, but I trust and know through the simplicity and the curiosity of not knowing, to be with the energy, rather than filling it up right away, filling up that space with, you have to have it planned out, or it has to be, you have to know. When I also feel like our evolution is, not going based on an outlined plan, because then spontaneous action can't be lived.
That opens up a completely new discussion that we cannot probably share tonight, but that opens up the absolute understanding of linearity, because you're speaking of the linearity of having to have everything planned out. And we want things planned out because it makes us feel safe. And we need to be in that void, or that place where it doesn't matter whether we're safe. It doesn't matter where we are. The trust will allow us to be in the moment. The linearity comes from the mind, and that's what science and technology and modern medicine are shoving us towards, a linear understanding that we have to always be moving towards progress. It's always progress, progress, progress. We don't need progress. We need to slow down. We need to actually stop that arrow of illusionary time that's always pushing us into the future. We need to stop that and simply be in the moment. The moment has all of the answers. It has all of the things that we need, not that we want, but it has everything we need.
Yeah. And that's why, I always talk about the analogy of the desert, is in that desert, in that moment, in that open space, we have everything that we need. And from this place moving forward, going within to discover who it is that you are, remembering who it is that you are, discovering your truth, trusting your intuition, not relying and depending on what everyone else is doing, but really listening to yourself. With that comes a strong sense of self-esteem, of remembering your magnificence, and a deep sense of love for the self. It's actually the greatest love story.
Yes, absolutely.
It's actually the greatest love story. It's a beautiful, beautiful love story. And while you're being surrounded by snakes, because we are. Because we are. That's also true. Because don't be under the illusion that, as we talked earlier, the angel in wolves, how did you call it, Pia? The angel in disguise? Yeah.
In sheep's
Uh,
clothing, pretending to be.
yeah, exactly. That this is all part of being able to be with the light and the darkness, at, like you said, Colin. And I think this is an important piece, and we can talk about this some more in our next show. But I think we went pretty deep into the different areas of the dark side of being awake,
Mhm.
and the responsibility that it takes. And really, how do you foresee, with the whole piece of 5G and the whole vaccine, and what are you feeling like? Do you feel like we are just now beginning to, because we've got a long road ahead, would you not say?
I would say, I don't know. We
Yeah.
have to wait and see. It depends on how many people are willing to drop their beliefs and
That's
look at what's real and listen to the trust in their heart. If they're going to automatically line up to have a vaccination and go buy the next model of smartphone, I don't know what's going to happen. But if they will pay attention to the increasing amount of literature that is coming from educated and documented sources about these things that are crimes against humanity, then they will listen to their hearts. And all of a sudden it's going to go, that doesn't resonate with anymore, and they'll make different choices. So what do I foresee? I don't know.
Now that's a woman that's walking her talk.
Yes, but I have a slightly different point of view.
Which I love, Colin.
This is the greatest opportunity right now on this planet for humanity to wake up. This is the pivotal, absolute, pinpoint experience that we can wake up, step into our consciousness, make a difference by saying, no, I will not accept this. No, I will not accept that. No, I will not do this. I will not jeopardize my life, which is absolutely precious, by taking things into me, whether it's a microwave or whether it's a chemical injection. This is the pivotal moment for humanity for the first time in our history.
Mm-hmm.
We have been at war with each other. We have been tribalistic for 10,000 years. We have done the strangest things to each other. This opportunity right now in the 21st century of our evolution to actually step up and say, I choose life. I do not choose a harmful technology. I do not choose something that someone who has more money than I do tells me I should do. This is an absolute golden opportunity to achieve freedom, possibly for the human race, for the first time in our history.
And it does require standing up and saying no. And that is the whole essence of revolution, which, as Cullen mentioned earlier, revolution holds the key essential word evolution in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So you need to do that.
So I would say that we have a spectacularly important ability. We are at the precipice of life or death for humanity and the planet at this time. It doesn't really matter that the planet is going to evolve into ascending into a different form. That is something that's going to happen organically. What we need to be interested in is what we can do here now to create heaven on earth. And we have the ability, we have the absolute ability to do that right now. And the only way that's going to happen is to wake up. And if people wake up and they do the right thing, which is making the thoughts and the choices for the highest good of all, we'll turn this around. But it's only going to happen through waking up to our own consciousness. And if people choose, if the collective chooses not to do that, life on earth, and I know this is a big statement, but it's the truth. It's not my truth. It's not my philosophy. It's the truth. If we don't step up and make these decisions to preserve life, life on this planet will not survive. It's an obvious fact. So my thought about answering your question is, wow, what an opportunity. We can do the greatest thing we've ever done before. We can make the biggest changes. We can make the most highest choice right now in our experience. And I think we can do it, but everyone has to do their part. And that's where we come back to the same word, responsibility.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so you said so much, which I could touch on a lot of things there, but I think that you summed it up really well for our show today. It's not nighttime here, it's morning. It's night where you are. You summed it up well for the audience, and that is really wake up and take ownership of your life, take ownership of your body, take ownership of how you see the world, and examine how, where you are in all of it, and where you can take more responsibility, where you're giving your power away, where you're giving your authority away to any outside sources, and really take a look at that. I was just reminded when you were talking, Colin, of my song that was downloaded by Source, and that is, the way I see it is and this has been playing out for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, right? Where between good and evil. So we have the light and the dark, and we have source, and we have whatever you want to call this source, and whatever you want to call this energy. And so it's that. And, will you join this source energy? To God, source, consciousness wants the planet back, not to be overtaken by the dark forces, not to be overtaken by this energy anymore. Because as you see, all the victims, the people that are out there that are listening to this, what about this? When will you choose the truth in this, the energy of harmony, of source, of love, of joy, of compassion, of mastery, of remembrance of the truth of who you are? And God said, I want the planet back. I want the kingdom back. I want my children back. I want the earth back. I want my food back. I want all of it, the joy, all of it, life. And that's all part of that energy there. And it's all happening through each and every one of our unique, absolutely unique expressions that we came here to contribute, that we have the honor to contribute, to be here, to restore harmony.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And the last thing I want to say is it's our choice.
Yes.
It is our choice. It is our choice. So choose well, choose a happy life. Until we see each other again, may you be well, may you be blessed. And Pia and Colin, as always, every time I always say, oh, this was the best show. This was the best show. Well, this was the best show. So every time it's the best show.
That's great.
Okay, I'm going to close out for now. Thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning in. We'll see you again next time.